Hello, all you lads and ladies. Welcome back to the Historian's Wardrobe YouTube channel. I'm Mariana, and this is my third video. So I decided to do for my next project kind of a three-part series. So you'll see finished look over 3 weeks. Okay, so as part of this week's project, I'm going to start with the hair and lack of makeup. So I decided for the time period that I wanted to cover, I kind of wanted to go back to where I began my love for historical fashion, and that's in the 1850s and 1860s. So the Civil War period, I began there because I think it was really about the big hoop skirts and really kind of that Gone with the Wind, even though I didn't even see Gone with the Wind until I was in Mr. O'Brien's history class. So leading into the Civil War, the styles, it's like the 2 decades before, or I think 2 of the worst decades of fashion probably ever. So I'd like to know other people's opinions on which era had the worst fashion. But I think the 1830s and the 1840s, that was like the pinnacle of bad fashion. One style that did really carry over into the 1850s and the 1860s is parting the hair down the middle. It didn't matter if you had a fat face like me. It didn't matter. It was the cool thing to have the center part. So the 1850s, the beginning of it, and like the end of the 1840s, that was the time of the extended awful roll on the side of the head that was like above the ear. Ew. So then by the middle of the 1850s, they realized, obviously this is a ridiculous, ugly look. Not gonna get any men. We're going to just like soften it a bit, bring it down. So in the 1850s and the 1860s, the end of the 1850s, I should clarify. And then into the 1860s, it was a softened, rolled hair on the side of the head. Sometimes they would roll up, but most of the time they'd like part it down the middle and roll down. So that's what we're going to do in the hairstyle that I'm going to put together today. And yes, I have a princess brush because I love Belle. Okay, so I have the awful middle part, and as I'm doing this, I'm going to tell you some really, hopefully not boring, but some really interesting beauty routine facts and information. First of all, I'm going to part out my hair here in the front, and I'm going to just kind of part it out like this. And I got my bobby pins. Okay, so in this time period, there are a lot of people who claim that they would wash their hair with rainwater, but they would wash their hair with rainwater because it left a reddish tint. Second, they would use like flakes of just plain soap, and it was really hard soap at the time. Like they didn't really get, you know, that the soap was so hard and it was damaging to both skin and hair. So they would use plain soap flakes, and then they would also use beaten eggs, like raw eggs. They would then have remnants of the soap still in their hair, and so they needed to strip that. And there are reports of people using beer as like a hair conditioner. Who knew? Beer. The concept of brushing your hair 100 times, that's not just an exaggeration. Ladies would do that. They would brush their hair 100 strokes on their hair every night because it helped to clean the hair. And they would wash their hairbrushes every day. And then after they would dry out the hairbrushes, they would put oils and things on the brush itself. So then they would put that stuff straight onto the hair when they would do the 100 strokes. Fascinating. Okay, so I separated out the sections of hair that I needed. Voila, voila. And then I'm going to just make a simple bun in the back as much as I can because my hair is kind of short. In my research that I did on this, it was kind of fascinating because there are a few pictures of ladies from the Civil War time period that have short hair. It was not because they were like rebelling against fashion. Most often it was because they had been recently sick. I couldn't find like a definitive answer to why I need to cut off the hair. Maybe it's a specific sickness. I don't know. When they would style their hair, fascinating thing is the things that these ladies would put in their hair. Things like bear grease, which is essentially bear fat that has been like through a filtration process. So bear grease was used by ladies, but also used by men. They would use different pomades made from, say, mutton fat. But I guess the fat was used as a way of cleaning the hair. And that's why they would put it on there, maybe? They would also use sugar water. Hair oils were used to style the hair. To keep the little flyaways down, they would use hair oil, sugar water. I'm gonna braid it, and then I'll attach the braids to my bun. And as I talk about that, I'm gonna tell you about makeup. So during this period, ladies did not really wear makeup unless you were a prostitute. However, in the evenings, ladies would put on maybe a little powder just to even out their skin tone. They were going real wild. They would use just a little bit of rouge, just like a dot on their cheeks and blend it in, and then just a dot in the center of their lips. But actually the fashion of the time was to have like nude color lips. Okay, so I got the braid done. I'm gonna do the braid on the other side real quick. So I'm going to take these and I'm going to pin them and tuck the stuff into my hair. I'm going to pin them on top of my bun. I hope that you can see that. Now the other side. So just because ladies did not shower every day or bathe every day, it does not mean that they were dirty. It just means they clean themselves differently. It's awful, isn't it? But back then, you'd see like pictures of ladies from the era, and they have, you know, the little ringlet curls around their ears. Well, ladies didn't have that unless it was in the evening. So they would do that for balls only, or like evening meals. But they didn't have curls during the day. In the same way, they did not wear short sleeves during the day. That was inappropriate. The correct thing was you only had your wrists and arms showing after 3 p.m. If it was before 3 p.m., it was not appropriate. Alright, so I'm just going to clean up a little bit because there's some stray hairs because my hair is so short. And I'm just going to do this real quick.